What if I told you that dragons were real? Not fire-breathing, not exactly, but massive reptilian predators with crushing jaws that walked on two legs and hunted in packs. They existed. They ruled Earth for over 100 million years, and ancient humans found their bones. Every culture on Earth has dragon myths. Every single one: Chinese long, European wyverns, Mesoamerican feathered serpents, Native American thunder lizards. Different continents, different time periods, same basic creature. That's not a coincidence. That's paleontology. Mass extinctions don't just kill, they create. After each apocalypse, evolution goes wild, filling the empty spaces. And what it creates? Nightmare fuel. Today, we're looking at 5 mass extinction events and the monsters they produced. Giant sea scorpions with claws like swords, armored fish with blade jaws that could cut through concrete, crocodiles that stood up and ran at you on hind legs, flying reptiles tall as giraffes, terror birds with beaks that cracked bone. These weren't myths, they were apex predators, and when humans found their fossils, we tried to explain them the only way we could. We called them monsters, we called them gods, we called them demons. We should have called them by their real names, because the truth is so much worse than any legend. Let's start 440 million years ago, when the first Great Dying created Earth's first nightmare predators. The first Great Dying. And from its ashes, the ocean birthed nightmares that make modern sharks look cuddly. 440 million years ago, Earth had no land animals. Everything lived in the ocean. Tropical shallow seas covered the planet. Life was peaceful. Small creatures, filter feeders, trilobites scuttling across the sea floor. Coral reefs everywhere. Then the planet froze. An ice age hit so fast that sea levels dropped over 300 feet. Shallow tropical seas disappeared. 85% of all marine species died. Then, just as suddenly, it warmed up. The ice melted. Climate whiplash on a planetary scale. Most species went extinct. But what survived? What evolved to fill all that empty space? The ocean's first true apex predators. And they were horrifying. Meet the Eurypterids, sea scorpions, 8 feet long, the size of a full-grown human. Massive claws like medieval swords, articulated with multiple joints. Thick, armored exoskeleton nothing could penetrate. Compound eyes the size of fists that could see perfectly in murky water. These were ambush predators. They'd bury themselves in sediment, completely still, until something swam overhead. Then they'd explode upward, grab their prey with those claws, and drag it down. The largest species, Jacalopterus, reached 8.2 feet long. Its claw alone was 18 inches, bigger than most people's forearms. It could tear apart armored fish effortlessly. The nightmare fuel part? You'd never see them coming. They hunted in murky freshwater rivers and shallow seas. The water would be cloudy, dark. You wouldn't know it was there until those claws grabbed your leg and pulled you under. Here's where it gets interesting. Ancient peoples discovered these fossils, and they needed explanations. Mesopotamian mythology is full of water demons and scorpion men. The Sumerians described the Girdablu, creatures that were half human, half scorpion that guarded the underworld gates. They had human torsos and massive scorpion bodies with claws. They weren't inventing this. They found 8-foot sea scorpion fossils preserved in rock and tried to make sense of them. Giant scorpions that once lived in water must have been demon guardians from the primordial ocean. The Babylonian Abzu, the underground ocean of chaos, was said to contain horrifying creatures with claws and armor, because people kept digging up these fossils in riverbeds and lakebeds. The Ordovician extinction killed the peaceful filter feeders. What replaced them were armored killing machines with claws like swords, evolution's first experiment with apex predators. And they ruled for 200 million years, but 8-foot scorpions were just the beginning. The next extinction created something that made them look harmless: armored fish with guillotine jaws that could bite through solid bone. The ocean turned toxic. And what survived learned to hunt in ways that still give paleontologists nightmares. 375 million years ago, something went catastrophically wrong. Multiple extinction pulses over 20 million years. Volcanic activity. Possible asteroid impacts. But the real killer was oxygen. Plants had just evolved on land for the first time. Their roots weathered rocks, washing massive amounts of nutrients into the oceans. This caused explosive algae blooms. When the algae died, bacteria consumed it, using up all the oxygen in the water. Dead zones spread across. The oceans. 75% of all species suffocated. The age of fishes ended. Coral reefs were devastated. They wouldn't recover for 100 million years. But what survived in those oxygen-depleted waters evolved into something monstrous. Meet Dunkleosteus, 30 feet long, 4 tons, an armored head like a tank. And here's the terrifying part. It had no teeth. It didn't need them. Instead, it had self-sharpening bone blades for jaws, literal guillotines attached to its face. Its bite force was 8,000 pounds per square inch. Stronger than Tyrannosaurus Rex. Strong enough to crush a car if cars existed back then. Its jaw could open in 1/50th of a second, creating a vacuum that sucked prey directly into those bone blades. Then it would bite down, cut its prey clean in half, swallow the front portion. The back half would just sink to the ocean floor. We found fossils with prey still lodged in their stomachs. This thing ate other armored fish. Nothing was safe from it. It was the apex predator of the Devonian Ocean, and it was unstoppable. If a human somehow encountered one, you'd be facing an armored predator with no visible weak points spears would bounce off. You couldn't outswim it. And that mouth? One bite removes your entire torso. You wouldn't even have time to scream. Fast forward millions of years. People start finding Dunkleosteus skulls. Massive armored fish heads with blade-like jaws preserved in stone, and they're completely baffled. The Leviathan from Hebrew Bible. Nothing on Earth is its equal. It is a creature without fear. Its chest is hard as rock, hard as a lower millstone. Impenetrable scales, jaws containing terror. A sea monster that could not be killed by mortal weapons. Tiamat, the Babylonian chaos dragon of the primordial sea. A creature of salt water with unstoppable jaws that birthed monsters. The Chinese Jiao Long, a dragon that lived in deep water with an armored head and immense power. Every culture near coastlines has legends of armored sea dragons, because every culture near coastlines found Dunkleosteus fossils. These skulls are found worldwide. Ancient civilizations discovered them constantly. They saw massive armored heads with blade jaws and thought, this must be a dragon. Nothing else makes sense. Dunkleosteus ruled the ocean for 60 million years with bone blades for jaws. It took the worst extinction event in Earth's history to finally kill it, and what replaced it? Somehow worse. The next extinction killed 96% of all life on Earth. Scientists call it the Great Dying. And from that apocalypse came the blueprint for every monster that ever lived. The worst day in Earth's history, and from its ashes, evolution invented the dinosaurs. But before T-Rex, there was something worse. 252 million years ago, the world ended. Not metaphorically, actually ended. The Siberian traps erupted. Volcanic activity lasting 2 million years. An area the size of Europe covered in lava. It released so much CO2, methane, and sulfur that the atmosphere became poisonous. Global temperatures rose 8 degrees Celsius. The oceans acidified. Oxygen disappeared from the water. Hydrogen sulfide gas poisoned the air. The ozone layer was destroyed. 96% of marine species died. 70% of land vertebrates died. It's the only mass extinction that nearly wiped out insects. Life almost ended completely. It took 10 million years for ecosystems to recover. The Permian world was lush and stable. Giant sail-backed Dimetrodon, herbivores the size of hippos, complex forests, trilobites that had survived for 270 million years finally went extinct. All gone. Worst extinction in Earth's history. And from that smoking crater of death, something crawled out proto-dinosaurs. And they were nightmare fuel. Meet Postosuchus, 15 to 20 feet long. A crocodile ancestor. But it walked on 2 legs like T-Rex massive skull, crushing jaws, heavily armored. It was the apex predator of the Triassic period. And here's the horror. It hunted the first dinosaurs. Early dinosaurs weren't predators, they were prey. Imagine a crocodile that stands up and runs at you on its hind legs. Fast, intelligent, armored. That's Postosuchus. Saurosuchus was even bigger, 23 feet long, pure ambush predator. It could crush bone with a single bite. These creatures were the templates: large, reptilian, carnivorous, bipedal, massive jaws, terrifying presence. Every dragon myth in human history traces back to creatures like this. Chinese dragon bones used in traditional medicine, actually dinosaur and proto-dinosaur fossils. The ancient Chinese discovered these massive reptilian skeletons and created the long dragon myth, European wyverns, two-legged dragons, based on finding bipedal reptile fossils. Greeks found protoceratops skulls with beaks and created the griffin myth. Native American thunder lizards? They found these exact fossils across the plains and created legends of giant reptilian monsters. The Permian extinction created the dragon template, but these proto-dragons were just the warm-up. The next extinction created the real thing, and they perfected killing for 135 million years before we continue with the two extinctions that created true dinosaurs and then the flying monsters that came after, including what evolved after the asteroid killed them all. I need your help. This kind of deep dive paleontology content takes serious research. If you're enjoying learning about the real monsters behind our myths, hit that subscribe button. Your support lets me keep making these videos. Okay, let's continue with the age of dinosaurs.